Well, spiking really needs to be a separate criminal offence. We need to be showing that there's zero tolerance is going to be accepted for this crime. We've got young people, men and women, who are being, on our streets every weekend, are getting sexually assaulted. They're getting raped. It's done as a prank. People are left with no memory of what's happened to them. These date rape drugs, you become compliant. You're left with no memory. And this is where we're failing so many people across communities, across the whole of the UK, because we're not gaining the evidence. The education is vitally needed for people who work in the nighttime economy.
Just on that, Dawn, you mentioned about it being a specific offence. Can you just explain? Because, I presumed that spiking was already illegal, and if it led to something more serious like an assault or a robbery or something like that, that was an aggravating factor. Are you saying that spiking isn't an offence?
Spiking is an offence, but only if it's with another crime. So, for example, if you and I went out tonight and one of us got sexually assaulted, that would be the crime. So what that means is it's virtually impossible to collect that all-important data. So if, for example, if we were to... I've contacted every police force across the whole of the UK to request their freedom of information data. And it's impossible to collect those figures because there's not a clear way of recording. That's why it's so important to make spiking a separate criminal offence.
And Dawn, you're doing a wonderful job here in raising the issue, because it's, must be, well, it is, it's everybody's nightmare to go out and think this could happen to them. But is there a downside to raising it as well? Does it increase the chances of it happening? Does it sort of advertise it to people as well? Is there a downside?
Well, this crime has been going on historically forever. And when people say to me, oh my God, spiking, is happening. Spiking has been going on for generation after generation. And by highlighting it, of course you have that, frightening thought. Is this going to make people think, that spiking is just started? No, it's been going on for years. And when we're talking about needle spiking, that's only a very small percentage compared to drink spiking issues.
Have you ever been spiked?
I have been spiked in the past, and I have also, back in 1989, when I was travelling around the world, this is the really frightening thing for us, because when you're in the UK, we've got English-speaking people. When people go abroad, and this happens so often, how, with the language barrier, do you get to a hospital? How do you get your samples taken? How are you ever going to get a conviction or even be believed? This is a global issue. It's not just happening in the UK. It's happening across the globe.
Dawn, thank you so much indeed for joining us. We really wish you well with your campaign. I think you're having a lot of success. I got something through from the universities last year saying what they were doing as a policy to try and raise awareness and deal with spiking issues. I know there's a debate in Parliament next week about it. So I think you're doing a great job of raising awareness, and we wish you every success with your campaign. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you ever so much.
But it is a big issue, isn't it? And I have always been mindful of my drink being spiked. I remember my dad always saying, keep your drink with you. Yeah. Don't leave it on a bar top. You don't know what will happen. So I was super cautious with my drink. Yeah. And he said, if it ever looks strange, if the colour's changed or becomes iridescent. Was anybody else super cautious like that when they went out?
Absolutely. And I'm still a student. I'm in my third year of university, and I've only been out clubbing a handful of times, really, because of this issue, because of spiking. I remember
so you don't even go out?
I don't go out at all, because I haven't been out for a very long time, because I actually think that it's so risky. I remember when my friends were going out, we sort of did back checks, sort of needle checks.
Oh, you were thinking, yeah,
to ensure that we hadn't had any spiking through needles. It is quite sad. Nowadays, there are sort of different things that we can use. So there is actually a nail polish you can use where you dip it into your drink to double check that if it has been spiked, and it sort of changes colour if it has been spiked with any kind of drug. But again,
you won't be drinking that either way.
Well, exactly. But I think that the number one thing is just to protect your drink.